Vitamin D is often referred to as the sunshine vitamin for a good reason. It plays a crucial role in maintaining healthy bones, supporting immune function, and even influencing mood and energy levels. Unlike many other vitamins that are primarily obtained through food, vitamin D is unique because our bodies can produce it naturally when the skin is exposed to sunlight. However, despite this natural mechanism, vitamin D deficiency is widespread across the globe, affecting people of all ages and lifestyles. Understanding how to maintain optimal levels of vitamin D requires a closer look at how the body produces it, what external factors influence it, and what strategies can help ensure you're getting enough. The first and most natural way to get vitamin D is through sunlight exposure. When ultraviolet B, UVB, rays from the sun hit the skin, they trigger the conversion of a cholesterol compound in the skin into vitamin D3, which is then further processed by the liver and kidneys into the active form of the vitamin. However, there are many variables that affect this process, including the time of day, geographic location, season, skin pigmentation, age, and the use of sunscreen or clothing that blocks UVB rays. For example, people living at higher latitudes or in regions with long winters and little sunlight are more likely to have insufficient levels of vitamin D, especially during the colder months. Similarly, individuals with darker skin tones may require more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D due to the presence of higher levels of melanin, which acts as a natural sunblock. Older adults also produce less vitamin D in the skin compared to younger individuals, putting them at increased risk of deficiency. In terms of practical sunlight exposure, most experts recommend about 10 to 30 minutes of midday sun several times a week to maintain adequate levels, though this can vary widely depending on skin tone and location. It's important to note that excessive sun exposure can increase the risk of skin cancer, so moderation is key. Short, regular exposure is generally safer and more effective than infrequent prolonged sunbathing. The use of sunscreen, while critical for protecting the skin from UV damage, can also significantly reduce the body's ability to synthesize vitamin D. Some research suggests that sunscreen with SPF 30 or higher may reduce vitamin D production by more than 95%. This doesn't mean people should avoid sunscreen, but rather that they should aim for a balance, perhaps getting a few minutes of sun before applying sunscreen or exposing smaller areas of skin like the arms or legs while keeping the face protected. In addition to sunlight, diet can play a supporting role in maintaining vitamin D levels, although it is difficult to get enough from food alone. Natural food sources of vitamin D are relatively limited. Fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, and sardines are among the best sources, providing high amounts of vitamin D3. Cod liver oil is another potent source, though not commonly consumed by everyone. Smaller amounts can also be found in egg yolks, liver, and fortified foods. In many countries, foods such as milk, orange juice, cereals, and plant-based milk alternatives like soy or almond milk are fortified with vitamin D to help combat deficiency. However, the amount of vitamin D added to these products is typically modest and may not be sufficient on its own, especially for individuals with limited sun exposure. Another factor to consider is the absorption and metabolism of vitamin D in the body, which can be influenced by several internal conditions. For example, individuals with certain medical conditions such as celiac disease, Crohn's disease, or chronic kidney disease may have impaired absorption or conversion of vitamin D, making it more difficult to maintain optimal levels. Obesity is also associated with lower vitamin D status because the vitamin is fat-soluble and can become sequestered in fat tissue, reducing its availability in the bloodstream. In such cases, even if vitamin D is being consumed or produced through sunlight, it may not be efficiently utilized by the body. For these individuals, maintaining sufficient levels may require more aggressive supplementation or medical monitoring. Certain medications, such as anticonvulsants, glucocorticoids, and some weight loss drugs, can also interfere with vitamin D metabolism. Given all these variables, it becomes clear that many people may need to monitor their vitamin D levels more proactively, especially if they fall into higher risk groups. The only way to know for sure whether you have adequate vitamin D levels is through a blood test that measures serum 25-hydroxyvitamin D. Optimal levels are typically defined as 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter. Nanograms per milliliter, though some experts advocate for slightly higher levels for optimal health. If levels are low, a doctor may recommend lifestyle adjustments, dietary changes, or vitamin D supplements to bring them up to a healthy range. As we move forward, it is essential to explore how supplementation can fill the gaps left by sunlight and diet and how to do it safely and effectively. Supplementation is one of the most reliable ways to maintain optimal vitamin D levels, especially for individuals who have limited access to sunlight or who do not consume enough dietary sources. Vitamin D supplements come in two main forms: D2 ergocalciferol and D3 cholecalciferol. While both forms can increase serum vitamin D levels, research suggests that D3 is more effective at raising and maintaining those levels over time. This is why most over-the-counter vitamin D supplements now contain D3, which is typically derived from lanolin and sheep's wool, although vegan-friendly options derived from lichen are also available. When choosing a supplement, it's important to consider the dosage. The recommended daily allowance, RDA, for vitamin D varies by age, sex, and life stage, but for most adults, it ranges between 600 and 800 IU, international units, per day. However, many experts argue that these recommendations are too low for maintaining optimal blood levels, particularly in individuals who are deficient or have limited sun exposure. In such cases, higher doses of 1,000 to 2,000 IU daily are often recommended and are generally considered safe. For those with confirmed deficiency, doctors may prescribe even higher doses for short-term use, such as 50,000 IU once a week for 6 to 8 weeks, followed by a maintenance dose. While supplementation is generally safe, excessive intake of vitamin D can lead to toxicity. This condition, known as hypervitaminosis D, occurs when vitamin D levels in the body become too high, typically from taking very large doses of supplements over an extended period. Symptoms of vitamin D toxicity include nausea, vomiting, weakness, frequent urination, and in severe cases, kidney damage due to elevated calcium levels in the blood. That's why it's important to avoid megadosing without medical supervision and to get your levels checked if you plan to take more than the standard over-the-counter dose for an extended time. Another factor to consider is the timing and method of taking vitamin D supplements. Since vitamin D is fat-soluble, it's best absorbed when taken with a meal that contains some dietary fat. Taking it with a large glass of water on an empty stomach may reduce its bioavailability, so combining it with breakfast or dinner that includes healthy fats like avocado, nuts, eggs, or olive oil can improve absorption. There is also emerging evidence that splitting the dose into smaller amounts taken throughout the week or taking it daily instead of weekly may be more effective in maintaining stable blood levels. However, this depends on individual habits and what one can consistently stick to. Consistency is key when it comes to supplementation. Another approach to enhancing vitamin D status is through lifestyle changes that support the body's ability to produce and utilize the vitamin. This includes maintaining a healthy body weight, as obesity is known to interfere with vitamin D metabolism. Regular physical activity, particularly outdoor exercise, can also help by increasing sun exposure and improving overall health. Even a 30-minute walk outside during midday can contribute to daily vitamin D needs, depending on the skin area exposed and environmental conditions. Balancing sun exposure while minimizing the risk of skin damage is a nuanced challenge. For people living in northern climates or areas with little sunlight, light therapy using UVB lamps can be a useful tool during the winter months. These devices mimic the UVB rays of the sun and can stimulate vitamin D production in the skin. However, they must be used with caution and ideally under the guidance of a healthcare provider to avoid overexposure and skin damage. Indoor tanning beds are not a recommended source of UVB due to the associated risks of skin cancer and premature aging. Vitamin D works in synergy with other nutrients in the body, particularly calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K2. Calcium is essential for bone health, and vitamin D helps the body absorb it from the gut. However, taking high doses of calcium without adequate vitamin K2 may result in calcium deposits in the arteries rather than bones. Vitamin K2 helps direct calcium to the bones and teeth where it's needed and away from soft tissues. Therefore, some experts recommend taking a combined supplement that includes vitamin D3 and K2, especially for people concerned about cardiovascular health. Magnesium also plays a vital role, as it is involved in the activation of vitamin D. Without enough magnesium, the body may struggle to convert vitamin D into its active form. Many people are unknowingly deficient in magnesium, so maintaining a balanced intake of all these nutrients helps optimize vitamin D metabolism and function. Ultimately, supporting optimal vitamin D levels is not just about one single action but a combination of strategies: smart supplementation, moderate sun exposure, nutrient-rich diet, and overall healthy lifestyle. While vitamin D alone cannot solve all health issues, its influence is far-reaching and well-documented, making it one of the most essential nutrients to monitor and manage proactively. With this understanding in place, we can now explore in more detail the specific groups of people who are most vulnerable to deficiency and what tailored approaches may help them maintain adequate levels year-round. Certain populations are more susceptible to vitamin D deficiency due to physiological, environmental, or lifestyle-related factors. Understanding these at-risk groups allows for a more targeted approach to maintaining optimal levels. One of the largest at-risk groups includes older adults. As people age, the skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight diminishes, and kidney function, which is vital for converting vitamin D into its active form, also tends to decline. Moreover, older adults are less likely to spend time outdoors or may be institutionalized, further reducing their sun exposure. For this reason, health organizations often recommend routine vitamin D supplementation for seniors, especially those over the age of 70. Infants and young children are another vulnerable group, particularly those who are exclusively breastfed without additional vitamin D supplementation. While breast milk is an excellent source of nutrients, it contains very low levels of vitamin D unless the breastfeeding mother herself has high circulating levels. In response, pediatric guidelines in many countries recommend giving vitamin D drops to infants starting soon after birth, typically in doses of 400 IU per day. This helps ensure proper bone development and reduces the risk of rickets, a condition characterized by soft or weak bones in children. Individuals with darker skin tones are also at higher risk of deficiency because increased melanin reduces the skin's ability to produce vitamin D in response to sunlight. This is particularly significant in regions with limited sunlight or in communities where cultural or religious practices involve covering most of the skin. People with dark skin living in northern latitudes may require both dietary intake and supplementation to reach sufficient levels. Additionally, those who wear long clothing for cultural or religious reasons may have similar challenges regardless of skin tone. People who work indoors, night shift workers, or those who live in urban areas with limited access to natural light are increasingly affected by low vitamin D levels. Modern lifestyles often revolve around indoor environments, offices, schools, public transport, and home settings. This chronic indoor living limits the natural opportunity for sun exposure and contributes to what some researchers describe as an epidemic of subclinical deficiency, where individuals may not exhibit overt symptoms but still suffer from low-level physiological dysfunction due to insufficient vitamin D. Another at-risk category includes individuals with medical conditions that impair fat absorption, such as inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, celiac disease, or pancreatic insufficiency. Because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, it requires healthy digestion and fat absorption to be properly metabolized. These individuals often require higher supplemental doses or medical management to maintain adequate levels. Similarly, people who have undergone bariatric surgery, especially gastric bypass, may be at increased risk because their ability to absorb vitamin D is permanently altered. Chronic illnesses like kidney or liver disease also interfere with vitamin D metabolism. The kidneys and liver are responsible for converting vitamin D into its active form, and impairment in either organ system can lead to functional deficiencies, even when vitamin D intake or synthesis is otherwise normal. These individuals often need to take the active form of vitamin D, calcitriol, under medical supervision. People taking certain medications also need special attention. Drugs like anticonvulsants, e.g., phenytoin, phenobarbital, glucocorticoids, e.g., prednisone, and some antifungal and HIV medications can interfere with vitamin D metabolism or accelerate its breakdown. Anyone on long-term medication therapy that affects bone or hormone health should discuss vitamin D monitoring with their healthcare provider. The consequences of chronic vitamin D deficiency go beyond bone health. While conditions like rickets in children and osteomalacia or osteoporosis in adults are the most well-known, a growing body of research links low vitamin D levels to a wide range of health concerns. These include increased susceptibility to infections, heightened risk of autoimmune diseases such as multiple sclerosis and type 1 diabetes, and even associations with mood disorders like depression. Although research is ongoing and not all findings are conclusive, many experts agree that maintaining adequate vitamin D levels is a simple, low-cost way to support broader health outcomes. Pregnancy presents another unique situation where vitamin D status becomes crucial. Expectant mothers with low vitamin D levels are at higher risk for complications such as preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, and preterm birth. Additionally, the developing fetus relies on maternal vitamin D stores for skeletal development and immune priming. For this reason, prenatal care often includes recommendations for vitamin D supplementation, with many prenatal vitamins containing at least 400 to 600 IU. However, some practitioners advocate for higher doses in deficient individuals, particularly during the winter months or in low sunlight regions. Athletes and individuals with high physical demands may also benefit from monitoring their vitamin D levels. There's evidence suggesting that optimal vitamin D levels can enhance muscle strength, reduce the risk of stress fractures, and aid recovery. Because intense training often occurs indoors or during early morning or evening hours, many athletes are not exposed to sufficient sunlight despite being physically active. In such cases, supplementation can help maintain performance and reduce injury risk. Lastly, individuals with dietary restrictions such as vegans or vegetarians may struggle to obtain adequate vitamin D from food alone. Since most natural food sources are animal-based, plant eaters must rely heavily on fortified foods or supplements to meet their needs. Vegan vitamin D3 made from lichen offers a plant-based alternative for those avoiding animal products. Recognizing these vulnerable groups is an essential step in preventing long-term health issues and ensuring that proactive measures are taken to monitor and maintain adequate vitamin D levels through personalized strategies. In the final section, we'll explore how to implement all this knowledge into a daily, sustainable routine that balances sun, diet, lifestyle, and supplementation for optimal long-term health. Developing a sustainable daily routine to maintain optimal vitamin D levels involves balancing sunlight exposure, dietary habits, supplementation, and lifestyle choices tailored to individual needs. The first step is to evaluate your current habits and risk factors. Consider how much time you spend outdoors, the climate you live in, your skin tone, age, diet, and whether you take any medications or have health conditions that may affect vitamin D metabolism. Once you understand your baseline risk, you can make informed decisions to fill in the gaps. For many people, incorporating just 15 to 30 minutes of midday sun exposure a few times per week, preferably on uncovered arms and legs without sunscreen during that time, can help support natural vitamin D production. If you live in a northern region with long winters, or if your lifestyle doesn't allow for regular sun exposure, supplementation becomes more important. A simple and effective routine might include taking a vitamin D3 supplement each morning with breakfast. Pairing it with healthy fats like eggs, avocado, or nut butter improves absorption. Many multivitamins already contain some vitamin D, but it's important to read labels carefully to ensure the dose is sufficient. If you take a high-dose vitamin D supplement, consider checking your blood levels every few months to avoid excess accumulation. Tracking your 25-OH D level with a simple blood test can help tailor your approach. Most experts recommend maintaining a blood level between 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter, though some studies suggest that levels closer to 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter may be optimal for certain individuals. Your healthcare provider can help interpret results and adjust dosage accordingly. In terms of diet, aim to include vitamin D-rich foods a few times a week. Grill or bake salmon for dinner, add sardines to a salad, or stir fortified plant milk into your morning coffee or cereal. For those who consume dairy, fortified milk or yogurt can provide a helpful boost. For vegans, fortified cereals, mushrooms exposed to UV light, and supplements are essential. Cooking with healthy fats can also enhance vitamin D absorption from meals. Planning meals that include both vitamin D and magnesium sources, such as leafy greens, beans, seeds, and whole grains, will support overall nutrient balance. To improve long-term consistency, consider setting reminders or adding vitamin D intake to your daily routine alongside brushing your teeth or preparing meals. For families, especially with young children or older adults, creating a shared supplement routine can help ensure everyone stays on track. Teaching kids the importance of sunlight and nutritious eating fosters lifelong habits. For elderly relatives, setting up pill organizers or digital reminders can be very helpful. Physical activity complements your vitamin D strategy by supporting bone and muscle health, improving circulation, and increasing opportunities for sunlight exposure. Aim for at least 30 minutes of movement each day, whether it's walking, cycling, gardening, or yoga. Exercising outdoors provides double the benefit, especially during sunny days. If the weather doesn't cooperate, even sitting by a sunny window can offer limited UV exposure, though it's not as effective as direct sunlight. Don't overlook the mental health benefits of vitamin D. If you find yourself feeling tired, low in mood, or unmotivated during winter months, low vitamin D levels could be contributing. While supplementation is not a cure-all for depression or anxiety, studies suggest that maintaining adequate levels can support emotional well-being. For individuals with seasonal affective disorder, SAD, combining light therapy with vitamin D supplementation may enhance mood and reduce symptoms. As a preventive health strategy, consider making vitamin D monitoring part of your annual checkup, especially during late winter when levels tend to be lowest. Ask your doctor about adding the 25-hydroxyvitamin D test to your routine blood work. Early detection of insufficiency can help prevent more serious issues later on. Educating yourself and others about the importance of vitamin D is another powerful step. Share what you've learned with friends or family members who may be unaware of their risk. Encourage outdoor activities, healthy cooking, and awareness of how lifestyle affects long-term wellness. In workplaces or schools, advocating for outdoor breaks or wellness programs can create environments that support better health for all. Finally, be flexible and kind to yourself. Not every day will be perfect, and your vitamin D needs may shift over time. Health is a dynamic journey, and even small adjustments, like a walk outside during lunch, a new recipe with fortified foods, or setting a daily supplement reminder, can add up to meaningful long-term benefits. The key is consistency, awareness, and responsiveness to your body's needs. In summary, maintaining optimal vitamin D levels is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing process that blends natural sunlight, mindful eating, strategic supplementation, and an active lifestyle. By understanding your personal risk factors and making daily choices that support vitamin D intake and absorption, you can protect your bones, support your immune system, and enhance your overall health and vitality at every stage of life.